Hi everyone, today I wanted to share a story on how I was able to bypass the Rolex waiting list. Now I want to preface the story by saying I actually never knew that there was such a thing as a Rolex waiting list. I thought if you are a paying customer and you walk into a boutique and you want to purchase something, they will simply pull it out for you and you're just going to be able to purchase it right there and then. And so, that was my mentality when I finally decided to pull the trigger and purchase a Rolex Submariner. So let me tell you how I was able to get this watch, because I'm seeing a lot of comments from people and asking me, how were you able to purchase it considering that there is now a waiting list? And I've heard waiting lists up to 1 year, up to 6 months, and up to a few months. And so hopefully this video will help you obtain one of these guys. So let's rewind to March 2018. I was just at an event and there happened to be a guy who walked by me and had one of these ones on. And so it quickly caught my eye and I just decided to go up to him and say, "Hey, I like your watch." He says, "Oh, thanks a lot." And he just, was really intrigued that I noticed it and was just going into really great detail to tell me on his purchase, which he made only recently. And he proceeded to tell me that his roommate's mother is actually the owner of one of the boutiques here in Toronto, Canada. And so that's really great. And he said, "Yeah, my roommate's mom, she works at the boutique and she gave me 20% off the Rolex Submariner." Now, this was in only when I met him, it was March 2018, and he had purchased it just a few months ago. So this would have been end of 2017, beginning of 2018. And he even just offered me that, he can connect me with this woman and she'd be able to get me 20% off. And at this point, my eyes are absolutely lighting up. And so I take down his number and a few short days later, I message him and I said, "Okay, I think I'm ready. What are the next steps?" And he tells me, "Just go to the boutique, ask for so-and-so, let's call her Jane, and tell her that I sent you there and go ahead and get the watch that you want." And I said, okay. So I decided to go over to the boutique and I get to the front door and I ask for this person named Jane. And this other woman says, "Well, she's not here right now, but I can help you out." And at this point, I'm panicking just a little bit because I really wanted to be connected to the owner. I feel like they have a little bit more pull, but I thought, that's okay. I'll just follow through with the salesperson. And she says to me, "I actually heard about you, so I'm gonna help you out." And that made me feel a little bit more at ease. And so I said, "Oh, I'm here for to buy a watch." Simple as that. I wanted to be really easy. I wanted to minimize her effort. I didn't want her to try and sell me anything. I knew what I wanted. I was gonna pay for it, and that was it. And she says to me, "Well, unfortunately, we don't have any at the moment, but I'll take your number and name down, and I'll call you when it arrives." And I thought, again, at this point, I had no clue there was such a thing as a Rolex waiting list. So I thought, okay, business as usual. They're just going to call some supplier across the street and they're going to bring it over. And that was the end of it. I had no clue there was a supply shortage or a VIP list or a preferential list or anything like that. I thought, no problem. Like, give me a call when it comes in. And sure enough, exactly 2 days later, I get a voicemail from this person saying, "Hey Serge, it's the Rolex boutique calling. I have your watch with me. It's 3 o'clock at the moment, and if you want it, you have to pick it up today before closing, which is at 7. So now I have 4 hours to get to the store and pick up the watch." And I thought that was a little bit interesting because she had a very stern, tone. She made it seem like this was really urgent, and if I hadn't picked it up today, then they were gonna sell it to someone else, which they probably would have. And so I packed up my stuff, and I linked the video below of me actually going to get my watch after I got the phone call. So I'll link it down below. It was really, really a special day for me. And so I go to the store, and sure enough, she has the watch for me. It's only like an hour before closing. And I said, great, let's, remove a couple links, and I'll be on my way. And I didn't make any fuss out of it. And the interesting part here is that when she gave me my watch, she didn't take any stickers off. And my understanding is that boutiques are taking the stickers off watches, specifically the sports models like the Batman, the Subs, the Daytonas probably, the GMTs, because they don't want you to resell it as brand new, never worn, stickered. They want to sell to people who are not going to flip them. So they're taking them off at the boutiques, and apparently they're keeping the Rolex cards for a minimum of 1 year, so that you end up keeping the watch for at least a year before you decide to flip it. They want to avoid flippers and such. So but none of that happened to me. They just gave me my watch, and I said, well, don't worry about the stickers. I'll take them off later. I kind of want to keep them until they fall off naturally. She said, no problem. And I also was expecting a 20% discount because of this connection that I made. And so when I went to go purchase the watch and pay for it, I said, very gently, am I going to get a 20% discount? Are you still going to apply it? And she very kindly told me, unfortunately not. These models are very highly demanded, and we don't offer discounts on this particular model anymore. And I could have gone home and thought about it, because I didn't know there was a supply shortage or a demand or this marketing scheme that Rolex is withholding watches to create false demand. I could have gone home and thought about it and thought, it was not the right price for me. I really wanted the discount, but I'll hold off. I'll come back later. I didn't do that. I genuinely trusted her that there was a, kind of a shortage, if you will. And she didn't try and sell me anything. And I thought, this was a very, very nice person, nice company to deal with. And let me just take my watch and be on my way. And that's exactly what happened. And so the last thing she said to me when she gave me my bag, and she says, congratulations, Serge, your connections made this possible. And so I think the moral of the story here is, if you have a connection of some sort, and this was a very distant connection. This was like an acquaintance I met at a party who had a Rolex sub and said to me, hey, I'll mention your name. Just go to the store and they'll hook you up. That's all that happened. I met this person once, and that's it. And so she said, your connections made it possible for you to purchase this watch. So, if you have someone who's purchased a watch from a boutique before, I highly encourage you to leverage them and ask them if they could just text someone or an associate, because that's what happened to me. And, I'm really lucky in that sense. And so that's all I wanted to mention today. If you have any questions for me, let me know. But I think it's really valuable if you post comments about what you've heard from boutiques on the Rolex waiting list. I've actually gone back to that boutique to inquire about another watch, and I thought, I was inquiring about an AP, which is way out of my price range now. But I also said, is it possible to get a Rolex sports model? And I asked a different sales associate. He says, Rolex Daytona? No. The Rolex Pepsi? No. There's a giant waiting list for that. He said we're getting 1 or 2 per year. And so obviously those watches are going to their very VIP clients. then he says, the Batman, we'll see what we can do. And so that tells me that there are still models out there that you could still acquire if you just wait, or if you just have a connection. I honestly thought that I could have bought a BLNR and flipped it relatively soon. So I don't want you to feel discouraged. Just go to your boutiques. Try to make a connection if you don't know anyone. Try to make a connection with a sales associate. If you don't know anyone, just be courteous, be polite. But if you do know someone, then and try and leverage them. And so that's my story. I hope that answers some of your questions. I've been seeing it a lot lately. Let me know what your boutiques are telling you in terms of the waiting lists and availability, because that's what mine are telling me here in Toronto, Canada. Thanks a lot, guys, and we'll see you in the next video.